chocolate is something that is very specific to different cultures. The way you grow up, the way and the first chocolate that you get as a child is what you are basically socialized with. I'm Volker Schrank, Senior Director, Employee Experience and HR Technology. With my first paycheck, I bought my first coffee machine. It was a Euro espresso machine, and it stayed with me until last year. It came with me and married with me. I made coffee throughout the day for me, my wife, not my kids, they are too small for that, but that was one of the biggest investment. It was half my salary, my first paycheck. I have a long-term consulting background. I worked for more than 10 years for Accenture, did management consulting in the HR space. I have to say, not actually in payroll. I don't have a payroll consulting background, but an HR consulting background. At a certain point in my time, it was that, career opportunities at Accenture were great, but they required me to travel globally, because I was an expert in the field that I was consulting on and therefore was brought to the client who needed me. As a consultant, you see a lot of companies. And for most of them, the project is great, but you also think I honestly don't want to work for them. For Mondelez, it was different. I liked starting, and I have loved it ever since. If you don't get payroll right, you can forget playing in any of the other HR fields, because no one wants to talk to you about it. Payroll and the paycheck needs to be right every time. Otherwise, you will get noise in the system. We have 82 countries where we need to pay right, around 90,000 employees in total. When you think about more developing countries, we have a lot of core workers, manufacturing workers. There are 50% of our workforce is manufacturing. And for them, every paycheck is important. Every paycheck, to be correct and on time, makes a huge difference for their life. This is why I like to be in payroll. This is why I believe this accountability is high rated and is very important to get it right. 90% of the folks have no idea. It's like, Mondelez? Okay, what are they? Where are they? What are they doing? I don't bother with that anymore. I'm just saying, you know what? Just have a look at the kitchen, have a look in your living room, turn around your chocolate, turn around your cheese, turn around your gum or candy. What you think is Milka, is Cadbury, is Oreo. That's Mondelez. That's us. No one knows us, which is a difficulty on the recruitment market. But everyone knows and loves our brands, and that's what I'm proud of. Since a long time ago, I was again in our factory in Bludenz in Austria, where they produce chocolate. And they produce a very special chocolate. They produce a chocolate that is only sold around Christmas in Spain. And that's the only factory who is doing that. I have Spanish friends living here in Munich. I took a tablet of that chocolate and brought it to them, and I'm still shivering a bit, because when I gave it to her, she started crying. She's like, oh my God, my childhood. This was Christmas at my childhood. I can't go home this year to my family, but you brought my childhood. This is the emotions that our products bring, and I'm very proud about that. So when I first started working in payroll, then back in 2015, the first thing I did is really figuring out what is our current status. How do we run payroll? I had no idea, and what I found out very quickly is that everyone was doing this in their own way. We were trying to pay people across 82 different countries, and we were doing this in more than 66 different ways. May it be the technology used, may it be what we did ourselves internally, what we has outsourced, maybe who was doing this. Everything was very different, and I was thinking that that cannot be the right approach. So what I did back then is figuring out where can I get more information about how payroll should be run. What is the future model? What is a resilient and safe and secure way to run payroll? Payroll is not a core competency of a company. It's one of the first things you can and should safely outsource. Who can actually deliver payroll for us? Who would be a company that can take us on in our size, in our complexity, and also fulfill, the security demands that we are having? Suddenly, something happened that I still hope never happens again, and I would have loved not to happen back then. But it helped us making the case. What I'm talking about is the malware attack, how we call it. It was a global malware infusion called NotPetya, and that has impacted multiple companies across the globe from one morning to the afternoon. It rolled over from the Ukraine to everyone who woke up and switched on the laptop. And it also impacted us and our payrolls. Suddenly, we were under pressure. We were not secure in many of our countries to pay our employees because all of our own infrastructure was impacted. Laptops didn't work anymore, or we were not allowed to switch on laptops that were working because they could be infected next. So how do we pay our employees? That time was a real struggle. It took us 2-3 months to get every country back up and running and into somehow of a stable state. The first time, you're not ready for that. If you're not ready for it the second time, you are to blame, not the situation anymore. We worked also with other partners back then before we decided to go with ADP. No other partner had us in mind. What we wanted to do, we were pretty clear on with ADP. We wanted to go for a regional contract to get all of our, what we call MEU, Middle Europe, countries into ADP delivered payroll. We also figured that going after this would take too long for Poland. And where ADP then basically said, like, you know what? Don't worry. Let's do a quick contract just for Poland. And once we have arranged a regional contract, we let Poland run into this. But there's no reason to stop now for one country. And you know what? If we don't manage a regional contract for whatever reason, then we continue Poland on its alone standing contract. We give you the same conditions as if it would be Europe, and we can start implementation as soon as you are ready. We understand that you need help, and we are there to help you. No one else was saying this. The two main reasons why we also went with ADP were A, their cybersecurity unit, but also B, their way of doing business. And I'm not sure if you actually can do it, that you can call it doing business, because what they were there for is help me, help us. This is what I like, where we ended up with today, and what I don't believe will change anytime soon, is that we are basically one and the same team with two different email addresses. The biggest success, though, is that what we signed up for was not a service provider. What we signed up for and what we are in for is a partnership. And partnerships are growing and changing every day. Being in something together and working on things together and making sense of different new situations. This is what I really like about the collaboration with ADP. We just acquired a very big company in Europe, Chipita, and are about to integrate, or in the middle of integrating them into our business. We're integrating them in all of our platforms, and we also need to integrate them into our payrolls. It is very ambitious goals. By the 1st of July of this year, we need to pay every Chipita employee through our Mondelez payrolls. If we wouldn't have ADP in the countries where we need to onboard Chipita employees now, I have no idea how we would have dealt with it. Probably we would have miserably failed. Having ADP, it was very easy to start this conversation, to start thinking about how do we get this done. Very early on in our thinking of the integration, even before we announced anything to the markets, before we were clear that it will all work out, we were able to talk with our partner because we are under non-disclosure agreements with them. And they helped us from the beginning shape the right approach, shape the right plan. What are the considerations we have to make? What are the data and the definitions and the decisions we have to bring to the table? What is it that ADP brings to the table? How do we bring it up into a new team collaborating for this integration, so that once we can officially sign the acquisition, we can all hit the ground running. We are working now very successful and on time currently on the integration in 18 countries again. In some countries we have a lot of employees, and some other countries like Germany, we have 2 employees to come from Chipita to ADP. That's very simple. In others, it is many, many more. In Greece, for example, Mondelez, we have around 200, 300 employees, and we get an additional 700. It's a very different story in those countries, and the ability of then our partner ADP to scale in such countries is something we will not be able to do without them. And having this assurance and having them help us get there, this is what success is. This is what agility is, and this is what I love working with them. Because the first question is, okay, what do you need? When do you need it? How can we make it happen?